It is easy to understand why so many of my contemporaries prefer to let this history die. Let it sink into oblivion silently, slipping beneath the waters of time until the surface of the lake is once again unruffled, and no one knows the shame lurking in the depths. I too feel that shame, though I was not alive when this occurred. I see it in Drekthar's face as he recounts his part of the tale in a shaking voice. I saw the weight of it on Orgrim Doomhammer, Gramash Hellscream, friend and traitor, and friend again, was ravaged by it. But to pretend it did not exist is to forget how dreadful the impact was, to make ourselves into victims rather than claiming our participation in our own destruction. We chose this path, we orcs. We chose it right up until it was too late to turn back, and having made that choice once, we can, with the knowledge that we have of the end of that dark and shameful road, chose not to take it. So I wish to hear the testimony of those who placed one foot in front of the other on a road that spelled near obliteration of our kind. I want to understand why they took each step, what had to happen for it to seem logical and good and right. I want to know this so when I see it unfolding again, I will recognize it. Humans have two sayings that are wise beyond imagining. The first is, those who do not learn from history are condemned to repeat it. And the second is, know your enemy. Valen was deep in meditation when Restalon reluctantly approached him. He sat in the central courtyard of the Temple of Karabor, not on the comfortable benches that flanked the rectangular pool, but on the hard stone. The air was filled with the scent of the flowering bushes of the lush garden, and the water murmured softly as it circulated. Trees, their leaves moving in the wind, added their own quiet sounds. It was a tranquil scene, but Valen's attention was inward. Long had the Draenei and the Naaru trusted one another. The luminous beings who were so seldom opted to take solid form had been first caretakers of the exiled Eredar, then teachers, and then friends. They had traveled together and beheld many worlds. Each time the Naaru, particularly the one they called itself K'ur, had been instrumental in helping the Draenei flee when the Minari uncovered their hiding place. And each time, Kil'jaeden and the monstrous creatures who had once been Eredar had come closer to capturing them. Valen grieved every time he and his people had to depart a world to save themselves, knowing that any beings they left behind would be changed as the Eredar had been. Kil'jaeden, always eager for more to join the Legion he was creating for his Dark Master Sargeras, would overlook no possible recruit. K'ur, as sorrowful as Valen, grieved with him, but it spoke in Valen's mind with the unalterable logic that Kil'jaeden, Archimonde, and Sargeras would have destroyed another world in the same amount of time. All worlds, all beings, all races were horrifically equal in Sargeras' eyes. They all needed to be obliterated in a ghastly festival of carnage and fire. Valen's death at the hands of beings who had once been his dearest friends would save none of the luckless innocents, whereas his life possibly would one day. How, Valen had raged once, how is my life more important, worthier than theirs? The gathering is slow, K'ur had admitted, but it continues. There are other Naaru like me who are reaching out to the younger races. When they are ready, they will all be brought together. Sargeras will eventually fall beneath the will of those who yet believe in what is good and true and harmonious, what is the timeless balance of this universe. Valen had no choice but to either believe this being who'd become his friend or turn his back on those who trusted him and be twisted into Minari. He chose to believe. Now, though, he was confused. The orcs had begun attacking lone hunting parties. There seemed to be no reason for the aggression. None of the shaken guards to whom Valen had spoken reported anything out of the ordinary. And yet, 3 hunting parties had been killed down to the last Draenei. Restallon, who had investigated the slaughter, had reported that the bodies were not simply killed, they were butchered. So Valen had come to the temple, created in the earliest years of the Draenei on this world. Here, surrounded by 4 of the 7 Atamal crystals they had sprung into being so very long ago, he could hear the faint voice of his friend in his mind, but as yet, K'ur had no answers for him. There would be no flight for them this time if things went wrong. K'ur was dying, trapped in the very vessel that it had provided when it had crashed into this world 200 years past. "Great prophet," said Restallon, his voice soft and weary sounding, "there has been another attack." Slowly, Valen opened his ancient eyes and regarded his friend sorrowfully. "I know," he said, "I felt it." Restallon ran a thick-fingered hand through his black hair. "What do we do? Each attack seems more violent than the last. Examination of the injuries done to the bodies seems to indicate they are improving their weapons." Valen sighed deeply and shook his head. The white braids swung gently with the movement. "I cannot hear K'ur," he said quietly, "at least not as well as I used to. I fear its time is not much longer." Restallon lowered his gaze, pain evident on his face. The Naru had effectively sacrificed itself for them. All the Draenei knew and understood this. Strange and mysterious as the being was, the Draenei had grown to care for it. It had been trapped and slowly dying for 2 centuries. Somehow Valen had thought it would take longer than that for the being to die, if it did die, as he understood such things. He rose with purpose, his light tan robes fluttering behind him. "It yet has wisdom to impart to me, but I have not the skill to hear it anymore. I must go to it. Perhaps proximity will help it communicate better." You mean go to the ship?" Restallon asked. Valen nodded. "I must." "Great prophet, I do not mean to question your wisdom, but you do anyways," Valen said, laughing, his startling blue eyes crinkling at the corners with genuine good humor. "Continue, my old friend. Your questioning always has value to me." Restallon sighed. "The orcs have adopted the vessel as their sacred mountain," he said. "I know this," Valen replied. "Then why antagonize them by venturing there?" Restallon asked. "They would surely see this as an act of aggression at any time, particularly now. You would be giving them a reason to continue their attacks against us." Valen nodded. "I have thought of this, thought long and hard on it, but perhaps it is time to reveal who we are and what their sacred mountain is. They believe their ancestors dwell there, and they may very well be right. If K'ur does not have much longer, should we not utilize its wisdom and its powers while we can? If anyone or anything can broker peace between the orcs and ourselves, this being, greater far than any of us, has that ability. This may be our only hope." K'ur spoke of finding other races, other beings, to join in its quest for balance and harmony, to stand against Sargeras and this vast, unholy force he has created. Valen placed a white hand on his friend's armor-plated shoulder. "One thing for certain has been revealed to me in my meditations, and that it is things can no longer continue as they used to. Orc and Draenei can no longer live in distant familiarity with one another. There is no returning to that, my old friend. There is either war or peace. They will either become our allies or our enemies, and I would never forgive myself if I did not explore every avenue to peace I could. Do you understand now?" Restallon searched Valen's face unhappily, then nodded. Yes, Yes, I suppose I do, but I like it not. At least let me send you with an armored guard, for I know they will attack before they will listen. Valen shook his head. No, no weapons, nothing to provoke them. In their hearts they are honorable beings. I was able to glimpse the souls of the 2 young orcs who stayed with us a few years ago. There is nothing cowardly or evil in there, only caution and now, for some reason, fear. They attacked hunting parties, not civilians. Yes, Restylon shot back, parties that were greatly outnumbered. We found blood that was not our own spilled at those sites, Valen reminded him. They took the bodies back for ritual burning, but there was orcish blood enough on the soil. And with our knowledge, a handful of Draenei can easily stand against many orcs. No, I will risk all on this. They will not slay me where I stand, if I state my intentions honorably and I come without the blatant ability to defend myself. I wish I had your confidence, my prophet, said Restylon resignedly, bowing deeply. I will assemble a small escort party then, and they will not be armed. The Great One, Kil'jaeden, began to visit Ner'zhul with more frequency. First it was only in the dream state, as with the ancestors. He would come in the night while Ner'zhul slept deeply, his body heavy with the drug that opened his mind to Kil'jaeden's voice, and whisper his praise and congratulations and plans for further orc victory. Ner'zhul was in ecstasy. Each letter that arrived by Bloodhawk from the various clans was read with eagerness and delight. We came across 2 scouts far from aid, the Shattered Hand clan chieftain wrote. It was ease itself to dispatch them, outnumbered as they were. The Bleeding Hollow clan is proud to report to the great Ner'zhul that we have obeyed him in all things, said another letter. We have joined with the Laughing Skull clan, more than doubling the number of armed warriors to send against this devious foe. It is our understanding that the Thunderlord clan seeks allies. We will send a courier to them tomorrow. Yes, smiled Kil'jaeden. Do you see how they are coming together in a just cause? Before, these clans would be challenging one another if they crossed paths. Now they are sharing knowledge, sharing resources, working as one to overcome a foe who would see you all destroyed. Ner'zhul nodded, but he felt a sudden pang. It had been glorious to finally behold this beautiful, powerful entity, despite the fact that he looked so much like the hated Draenei. But he had stopped seeing Rulkan. He found he missed her. He wondered why she was no longer seeking him out. Hesitantly, he spoke. Rulkan? Rulkan has done her part in bringing you to me, Ner'zhul, soothed Kil'jaeden. You know she is well and happy. You have seen her. We do not need her as an intermediary anymore. Not now that I have been convinced of your worthiness to my voice among your people. And as before, Ner'zhul's heart flooded with joy, but this time, despite the comforting and exciting words of Kil'jaeden, he felt a sad little jerk in his heart as it beat, and still wished he could speak with his mate. Ner'zhul was deep in thought when Gul'dan brought the missive to him. The apprentice bowed and handed his master a piece of parchment, stiff with blue liquid. What is this? Ner'zhul asked, taking the parchment. It was taken off a Draenei approaching from the south, Gul'dan replied. A party? A single courier. No arms, not even a mount. The fool was walking. Gul'dan's lips twisted into a smile as he chuckled. Ner'zhul looked down at the parchment, realizing now that the blue stains were the courier's blood. What had possessed the idiot, walking alone, unarmed, into the heart of Shadow Moon territory? He unfolded it carefully, trying not to tear it, and quickly began to read. Even as his brown eyes darted over the words, the room was suddenly filled with radiance, and both shaman prostrated themselves. "Read it aloud, great Nerzul," came Kil'jaeden's smooth voice. "Share it with me and your loyal apprentice." "Yes, my master," said Gul'dan eagerly. As he read it, for the first time since he had spoken with his beloved Rulkan, Nerzul tasted doubt. Unto Nerzul, shaman of the Shadow Moon clan, the prophet Valen of the Draenei sends greetings. Recently, many of our people have come under attack from the orcs. I do not understand why this is. For generations, your people and mine have lived in peace and tolerance, a state that has benefited us both. We have never lifted a weapon towards an orc, and indeed, once we were instrumental in saving the lives of 2 young ones who unwittingly placed themselves in danger. Ah, Gul'dan interrupted, I remember. Durtan, who is currently the Frostwolf chieftain, and Orgrim Doomhammer. Nerzul nodded, absently, his thoughts distracted for a moment, then resumed reading. "We can only assume there is a terrible misunderstanding, and wish to speak with you, so that no more lives, orc or Draenei, are lost in such a tragic fashion. It is my understanding that the mountain you call Oshu'gun is sacred to your people, that this is where the wise spirits of your ancestors dwell. While this place has long had meaning for the Draenei as well, we have always respected your decision to claim it as your holy site. However, the time has come for us to recognize that there is more that we share that divides us. I am called the prophet among my people because at times I am granted wisdom and insight. I seek to lead well and peacefully, as I am sure you and the leaders of the various clans do your own people. Let us meet peaceably at the place that holds so much meaning for both our races. On the 3rd day of the 5th month, I and a small party will be moving in pilgrimage to enter the heart of the mountain. No one in the group will bear arms. I invite you and any others who feel so moved to join me as we enter the deep place of magic and power, and ask the wisdom of beings much wiser than we, how we can heal this rift between us. In light and blessings, I bid you peace." Gul'dan was the first to speak, or more accurately, to laugh. "Such arrogance, my lord, great Kil'jaeden. This is an opportunity not to be missed. Their leader comes like a cleft-hoofed calf to the slaughter, unarmed and stupidly thinking that we know nothing of his evil intentions. And he thinks to violate Oshu'gun. He will die before he sets a vile blue hoof upon even the root of our holy mountain." "What you say pleases me, Gul'dan," Kil'jaeden rumbled in that smooth-as-water voice. "Nerzul, your apprentice, speaks wisdom." But Nerzul found words stuck in his throat. He opened his mouth twice to speak, and finally words rasped forth on the 3rd attempt. "I do not disagree that the Draenei are dangerous," he said haltingly. "But we are not Gron to kill unarmed foes. The courier was slain," Gul'dan pointed out. "He was unarmed and even unmounted. And I regret that," Nerzul snapped. "He should have been taken into custody and brought to me at once, not killed." Kil'jaeden said nothing. The scarlet radiance bathed Nerzul as he continued, groping his way to a solution. "He will not be permitted to defile our sacred place," the shaman continued. "Have no worries about that, Gul'dan, but I will not have killed him without having the chance to speak to him. Who knows, but that we might learn something." "Yes," said Kil'jaeden, his voice rich and warm. "When one is in pain, one will reveal all he knows." The word startled Nerzul, but he did not reveal his surprise. This magnificent being wanted him to torture Valen. Something inside him was excited at the prospect, but something else inside him recoiled. Not yet. He would not do such a thing yet. "We will be waiting for him," he assured both his great lord and his apprentice. "He will not escape." "Lord," said Gul'dan slowly, "a suggestion, if I may." "What is it?" "The closest clan to the mountain is the Frostwolf clan," Gul'dan pointed out. "Let us have them take Valen and his party and bring them to us. Their leader once tasted Draenei hospitality, and although he has not hindered our efforts, I do not recall hearing that he has led any attacks against the Draenei. We shall kill 2 birds with 1 stone, take the Draenei leader captive, and make Duratan of the Frostwolves prove his loyalty to our cause." Ner'zhul felt 2 pairs of eyes born into his, the small, dark ones of his apprentice, and the glowing orbs of his master Kil'jaeden. What Gul'dan had suggested sounded like wisdom. Then why was Ner'zhul so reluctant to agree? The heartbeats ticked away and perspiration sprouted on Ner'zhul's low brow. Finally he spoke, and was relieved to hear his voice sounded sure and strong. "Agreed. It is a good plan. Find me pen and parchment, and I shall notify Duratan of his duty."
You can